All right, welcome back to part 3 of the video workshop series Intro to Gaffing. Now, last video we talked about the role of the gaffer, and we specifically talked about pre-production. In this video, we'll talk about production or principal photography. Now, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to keep this in pre-pro or, I feel like this is a little more closer to production or principal photography is the pre-light day. So basically, if you're not every project can have a pre-light, but depending on how rigorous the schedule is, or how complex your lighting design is for a project, or at least the first shoot day, you might warrant a pre-light. And that pretty much means that you take all your gear and you have at least your basic crew, or you could potentially have additional people that come to really get a lot done on that one day, so you can really hit the floor running on your first actual production shooting day. But you load in, unload all the gear from the truck, and bring what you need in, and then some into the location, and build your staging, kind of get your stuff organized. If you didn't have a prep day, you would probably just make sure that you had everything, and that the rental house didn't forget anything, or that you didn't forget anything as a gaffer as far as your gear list. But basically what happens is you start to pre-light for the next shooting day, or whenever you're going to be shooting next. Usually the day after, or the next Monday, or if you're pre-lighting on a Friday and not working the weekend, which is great. Here's some photos. This is a studio shoot, but this was a pre-light day where we loaded our gear in. We built the grips, built the softbox, and the electrics put a bunch of lights in there. And the middle photo is um, the backlight is shining on Polly there, and Alba is there working on raising the background lighting. And there you can see in the third project they built the softbox, and we're starting. So we're just kind of getting all the heavy, um, heavy work out of the way, building all these things that go all into the air. Just pre-lighting that first setup. Sometimes on a pre-light day, depending on a schedule, that I had there has been a time where we pre-lit something that we were going to shoot a couple days into photography, but because we didn't have any other time to do it, on the day or the day before, because of the shooting schedule, that we did it, a week before, and it sat there, and then we showed up in the middle of the shoot day to jump into what we had pre-lit. But usually you pre-light what you're going to shoot on the next shooting day, so you can just kind of show up and turn things on, and maybe do a little bit of tweaking, and then start rolling, instead of having to spend this pre-light day took 6 hours or more. um, Sometimes the camera's there on the pre-light day, so you can kind of start framing things up and getting a rough idea of what things are looking like and stuff, which is really helpful to kind of begin the tweaking process and the fine-tuning of lighting on the pre-light day. But that doesn't always happen. Usually, sometimes the pre-light day is also the camera prep day, where the camera department is at the camera rental house prepping their camera package. Sometimes they come in the afternoon, which can be helpful, but not always. All right, let's move on. So once you're pre-lit and ready to go, you'll every day that you're on production, ideally you'll get a call sheet. So to the left there is kind of the email. This is for The Alternate, a indie feature film that we shot in December of 2019. This is a great. I thought this was a great example of a call sheet and an email, because even the email kind of has really important information. Although it's always really good to look at the call sheet and make sure that your specific call time, your specific call time, because sometimes the electric call time could be different than the general crew call, and you don't want to be late to work. But in the email, you can see we've got a couple locations. There's some general crew call times there, and then there's the actual call sheet on the right side. There's actually usually a second page to the call sheet. I didn't put it up here because it had a bunch of people's names on it, but it does list everybody in their departments. Sometimes there's phone numbers and emails in case you need to reach out to those people individually, as well as their call times. So you always want to check your call time specifically. Even within your own department, like a driver slash electric hyphenate position could have a earlier call time at a different location to pick up the truck than your kind of general crew call for your department. I just wanted to also note, as from a gaffer's perspective, some helpful information that is on the call sheet. One major thing being the shooting order of the scenes that you're going to shoot that day. You want to make sure this is hopefully the most up-to-date schedule that you can review, and make sure there's no issues that are going to come up for your department. As far as one issue could be quickly jumping from a day interior into a night interior, and the grips are going to have to black out all these windows. It might be more advantageous flipping those two scenes, doing the night interior first, because it's a lot quicker to just tear off the blacks from windows or deconstruct tents than it is to wait and build all those things. But it really depends on the schedule. There might be time. So that's just things that you need to communicate. This would be stuff that you ideally communicate in the production meeting. So there's another chance to kind of make sure that what you guys talked about, or what you hope to happen, at least for your department, is reflecting in the scene list there. Also, probably back in the day it was a little more helpful, but there is kind of some weather. But now with apps on your phone, you can kind of look up weather for where you're shooting. But it's always kind of helpful to get that reminder to figure out what the weather's going to be like for you personally, and for things to logistically work out with your best electric as far as rain or weather related to your equipment. And then down below is an advanced schedule of the scenes that you're going to shoot the next day. And also, especially on a feature, you could jump, or during lunch, you'll get a preliminary schedule or a call sheet that will have all this information. You can kind of look over it, make sure that the scenes are going to work in that order for your department or what have you. And I also usually share the prelim with the best electric, who is managing the crew, and making sure that additional players or people that need covers or whatever logistics crew-wise is reflected in the preliminary call sheet, or make changes physically on the call sheet and give it back to production for them to change. Okay, let's move on. Principal photography is a very rock steady way about making movies, and that would be, once we load in, there's a blocking rehearsal. That's where the director and the talent they kind of walk through the scene, and all the department heads watch the scene. And then right after that, there'll be a marking rehearsal where we all kind of watch it again, but we kind of break it up into segments, and the DP kind of walks through the shots of where they want to catch certain points of action, and the talent stands on the or wherever talent is at any given point that's important. The first assistant, or the second AC, will spike talent with a T mark, and then pretty much from there the talent will kind of go away and go through the works, hair and makeup and wardrobe and stuff like that, and hopefully you'll have some stand-ins and that can stand on these marks. And then you begin lighting. You kind of do, if you haven't pre-lit, or if you have, maybe this is where you kind of do some tweaking, and you can get shooting, get to shooting sooner. But if there is no pre-light, then you'll do your big um, broad strokes in lighting, and maybe start beginning to do some little tweaking. But then we bring the talent back, and everybody kind of rehearses in camera. And then once we kind of assess the scene and how it's feeling through the camera, then we'll do some tweaking, and then um, we'll actually shoot the shot. That's that. This way works really well as far as shooting almost every shot. And if you deviate from this, it's just going to bog things down and things won't happen as smoothly. A really good AD will have this just completely embedded into shooting throughout the day, and it runs really smoothly. Let's move on. It was a good mention about gear. Your best boy or best electric handles this usually, but if something gets damaged, which accidents happen, and even the best of technicians, things break by accident, but you just want to report that as soon as possible to the producers, because it is probably money related, as well as the rental house, so you can hopefully get it swapped out or replaced, or send it back to get fixed, and it can come back on set with you. That's pretty much it. I just wanted to mention that. Oh yeah, and then there could be a wrap day. It's kind of like de-rigging, or there could be a de-rigging day where you've the day before you've shot, and then the day after or the next work day would just be tearing down, counting all your gear and loading it into the truck, and calling it a day. And there's also another kind of wrap day where, especially for feature films or larger commercials, where you go back to the rental house and help the rental house basically make sure that everything's there and that everything's working, and everything kind of gets put back into place. Any kind of custom fixtures or anything that you've made or you've kind of customized to meet the needs for your particular project all kind of gets broken down and back to standard operating mode. And this is usually for, more creative projects, features, short films, maybe even music videos. There could be pickups and reshoots where, because sometimes when you're working on set and you can't make your day, the director needs to cut scenes. Usually they're like simple insert shots, or even a scene that might even be able to be cut entirely from the movie, or at least be cut from principal photography, and that can be shot later on. There's a picture of us doing some that we never did any reshoots. I think there were pickups for the alternate film. That's a wrap. Okay, that's pretty much it for this video. Gaffer isn't really involved in any post work really. So the next video will be about the 4 properties of light. So thanks for watching. Hope you learned something, and we'll see you on the next video.